My grandfather loved the movies. My parents always took us kids to the movies, and then when I could drive at age 16, then I would go to Ann Arbor and East Lansing and Detroit and watch all the Kurosawa and Bergman and Truffaut and Fellini and everything else.
Kubrick. I understand Clockwork Orange. Is that true? That was your favorite?
Yes, yeah. That one I had to sneak into because it was an X-rated film when it first came out. I think I was 17 years old. But definitely Stanley Kubrick. That was really my hobby. I went to 3 or 4 movies a week, to tell you the truth. And so I had billions of frames of film in my head, and I thought I understood what the rhythms were and the beats of it. And I knew what I liked, and I knew that I didn't like documentaries. I really avoided them. They were boring. We had to watch them in school. We seemed to watch a lot of National Film Board of Canada stuff because we were close to Canada. It's not a knock on the National Film Board. They do wonderful work, but there's just so many nature films you can watch about otters. I really found them quite boring. And then I saw a documentary film in the early 80s called The Atomic Cafe, which was a humorous film about the end of the world, about how we're all going to blow ourselves up, using all found footage to do this. And then I just as I started making Roger Me, I saw 2 films that had a huge impact on me. I was editing the movie in Washington, D.C. That's where I cut Roger Me. And we were on Pennsylvania Avenue, about 4 blocks from the White House, and above a Roy Rogers restaurant, the stench of Roy Rogers all day long. But if you walked opposite from the White House down to M Street, just before Georgetown, right at the beginning of Georgetown, there was a cinema called The Biograph. If anybody's from DC or remembers any of that.
Applause for The Biograph.
Yeah, it's a CBS now. I saw a film called Sherman's March there, where the filmmaker put himself in the film. The film was supposed to be about Sherman's March to the sea. That's what he got his documentary funds for.
Ross McElwee. Right.
And instead, as he's going to each city that Sherman burned, he would run into an old girlfriend or...
Well, he was looking for a girl. He decided he would find a girlfriend while making this film. She's sort of auditioning.
Right. But he was also running into people that had dropped him or got rid of him. And it was just so funny and engaging. And then the other film I saw at that time was I guess you can call it an animated film. It was made with Barbie dolls. The whole film was with Barbie dolls. It's called Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story. And it was the first film that Todd Haynes made. It's hard to find it because the Carpenter family went after them, and also whoever makes Mattel, I guess, makes Barbie.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get the rights to any of it, so you have to kind of find it on the internet or whatever.
Which isn't so hard these days, but yeah.
But again, I thought it was just like, what a bizarre, funny film about, well, essentially it's a very sad story about a young woman who becomes anorexic and dies, so those two films at that time, plus over at AFI at the Kennedy Center, I don't know if they still show movies there, but I went to see a Japanese documentary there called The Emperor's Naked Army Marches On. And again, this is a film that you haven't seen much here in the U.S., but basically the documentary filmmaker and this ex-Japanese soldier from World War II go on this mission to find out what happened to his buddies on the island, because the war was over and they didn't get picked up for a month, and then they seemed to lose the soldiers. They got a smaller and smaller unit, and he wanted to find out what happened to his friends. And they go from place to place, and from a captain to a colonel to a general, and finally this colonel just says to him, very arrogant sort of way, "Well, we ate your friend." The officers, we decided the only way we're going to survive is to kill the enlisted, the draftees, and eat you, and you just didn't get eaten. And right in the middle of this interview, this guy just lunges toward the colonel and just starts. They're both 80 years old, and he's just beating the crap out of him. And I don't know, I can't remember now if the filmmaker joined in, because I remember the camera kind of went down. And it was so strange and funny and serious. It's a tough mix to put together, but if you can do it, it can work really well.
So you were.
When I lost my job at Mother,
Okay.
I got fired because I had a big political row with the owner of the magazine over a few things, and so I was just unemployed and sitting around not doing much. And one day Roger Smith came on TV and said he was laying off another 30,000 people throughout General Motors.
Yeah.
He'd already laid off about 20,000 in Flint, and 10 of those 30,000 were going to happen in Flint. So I just thought, I should do something about this. And I didn't want to do anymore. I didn't want to go to a magazine or a paper anymore. I just was burned out on that. I thought I should just make a movie. And so I called up Kevin Rafferty, who I had met, the Atomic Cafe guy, and he offered to come and show me how to make a movie. And then he let me come to New York, and he showed me how to edit. He had a steam deck on McDougal Street, and learned how to edit there in his basement. And then we were finishing. I got to tell you the story. We were finishing the film, editing the film in D.C. And it was January of '89, and it was the day of the first Bush being inaugurated.
Yeah.
And so I said to the editors, "Hey, I've never seen an inauguration. Let's just shut down today. We'll watch this in the mall." So we walk over to the mall to watch the inauguration, and which is very easy because there weren't many people there like that. Well, you know, there's like huge.
Right.
First Bush.
Not so much excitement.
Not so much excitement. You can get right up close.
Yeah.
But they still have big screens. And up on the screen, I could swear I saw Kevin Rafferty pass by up on the stage. And I said, oh, that's Kevin. You know, no, there's no way it could be Kevin. You know, and actually he had kind of a nice, like a winter coat on. And Kevin was like the McDougal Street guy, you know, which back then meant, you know, holes in the jeans and same flannel shirt every day. And it didn't look like he had a pot to piss in, basically. And he, so a couple days later, I called him up and I said, we were at the inauguration in the mall. I could have swore I saw you up on the stage. He goes, yeah, that was me. Mm-hmm. I said, you're kidding? Well, wow, were you in a documentary about the inauguration? Or how'd you get up there? He goes, no, I wasn't making a documentary. I was there. I said, well, what's that? And so, he doesn't want to tell me, right? I can hear him like taking long drags on a cigarette. Well, you see, my uncle is the president of the United States.
What?
Yeah. Kevin's mother and Barbara Bush are sisters. Never told, and I had no idea. The whole time he's like teaching how to be a filmmaker, and he's Bush's nephew and W's cousin, first cousin, and it just kind of blew me away. And when the movie came out, actually, President Bush #1, the elected one, he asked for a print of the film to be sent to Camp David for the weekend because there was a family reunion or something going on, and they wanted to watch the film that Kevin shot.
They watched Roger.
They watched Roger and me at Camp David, and I tried. I said, "Is there any way you can get into this?" And I said, "No." And but I called later. I heard afterwards. I guess from the projectionist or somebody. He said, "Well, it was pretty quiet in there." Except there was this one family member who laughed hysterically throughout the film. And I said to Kevin, I said, "What? Who would laugh hysterically?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "I got a cousin with a little problem." And I never heard of any of these people before. I mean, W or whatever. So it was.
Little did he dream that he would show up in your movies later on.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and because I wouldn't be a filmmaker if it wasn't for the Bush family, so that's why I've never wanted to say anything bad about them. So
wow. Okay.
It's an odd story.
Yeah, that just blew my mind, actually. That's great.
I mean, to just be living in Flint and have that happen.
And I think Kevin Rafferty, didn't he do the movie Feed? There's a great movie documentary that was made solely with like satellite feeds of politicians when they think they're not on camera.
Yeah, back in the old days.
Yeah, if you ever can find it anymore, it's a great film.
Yeah, Feed is a wonderful film. Blood in the Face was the film he was, that I met him on there, where he was making there.
Now, so also I was really interested to hear about Sherman's March. because one of the key things about Roger and me is that you're in the film. And now you said at the screening before that you were reluctant to go on camera, but just how did it come about that you said, okay, I'll be on camera?
Because Kevin, he convinced me. He convinced me to do it, and he said, you should really do this. And it's real. You're from Flint. It's your story. It's your family story. I said, yeah, but I really hate those kind of things. And then of course, when I remember the show Miss March, and I said, well, maybe I could do this a little bit or whatever. But I wasn't. I mean, we have to have. I don't know. I mean, actors, for all of their insecurities, have to have a certain amount of a self-concept or self-esteem to be able to allow themselves to be blown up 40 feet onto a screen. Yeah. And most of us, most of us don't want to even look at our picture. When I did the deal with Warner Brothers, I needed a lawyer, so I just hired the Spike's lawyer. I didn't know Spike. I just read his book. He was his lawyer, Arthur Klein. Okay, I'll find Arthur Klein.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to look at our first clip now, so I'm sort of warning people up in the booth, but it's from Roger and me, and it's one of the, some of you just saw the film, but the film basically chronicles your attempts to meet face-to-face with the head of GM, still a nemesis, well, I don't know, you just wrote an article this week about GM and what they were doing with the ignition switches.
Yeah, but yeah. I was questioning whether or not I still support or I'm against the death penalty. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I might reconsider when they purposely allowed those ignition switches that they knew might kill people. Yeah. Once they discovered that they were faulty, that they didn't do a recall and bring those cars in.
That it would cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, cost benefit analysis. They decided that the lawsuits they'd have to pay off to the deceased's relatives would cost less money than fixing the cars. Yeah. And so I just, at what point do we, the people, stop this from happening? Yeah. I mean, it's, a mother in the Bronx runs into the store, she leaves her kid in the car, and the cop sees it, and then she's arrested, and she's sent to Rikers because she shouldn't have left the kid in the car, right? Okay, yes. Right. But they will put that person in prison. Right. For that. But the person who knows they're putting a faulty ignition switch in the car, knows that it will kill people, that nothing happens to them ever. And it's just, I hope in my lifetime that we get to see something happen. Because I think if you just throw a few of them in jail, it will frighten the others. Yeah.
Of course, one of the things you do is
don't kill them, but
right. But I think this idea of personalizing, putting a face on how corporations work, so saying that this is about a person, in this case Roger Smith, was important, I think so.
And before you show this clip, I want to just point out too that for those of you who saw the film earlier, because we didn't know what we were doing, we didn't really know how to make a movie. I mean, I had 1 week's training from Kevin. So we messed up a lot of film, loading the film into the 16mm camera, or we forgot to turn the switch on. I remember interviewing Jesse Jackson. The whole interview we didn't have because of the sound, the Niagara wasn't on. Wow. And so it was really we looked like the Keystone filmmakers. So what you see in Roger and me, actually, I would say, well, 9 out of 10 roles we spoiled, we ruined. So that film was made from only 10% of the usable footage that we had shot. Yeah, I was that naive, I think. I thought, well, we got a camera crew there, and it's always better to talk to the press than not to talk, to run from them. The sun never looks good. So I figured they would eventually at least talk to me. And I was surprised that by the end of the film that they didn't. And I was lucky at the end of the movie just to kind of sneak in at that Christmas party, which actually it's intercut with the eviction, the Christmas eviction. Those two events actually did happen the same day. We went to the eviction first early in the morning, like at 8 in the morning, and it was just heart-wrenching to watch them throw these kids' presents, still wrapped, out on the curb.
Along with the
Christmas tree, all this stuff, and it's Christmas Eve, and it's just like, I cannot believe this is going on. I mean, I went up to the deputy and I said, between us here, we have the $150 that she owes the landlord. We'll just give it to you. Let her stay. He says, you better put that money away because you're offering money to an officer here of the county. And I said, oh, okay. So we got done shooting and we went and sat in the van and just about everybody kind of broke down and cried after watching this happen. And so to kind of cheer everybody up, I said, well, let's go do something. Hey, I got an idea. Well, let's try to get Roger Smith one more time, because we were near the end of the shooting now.
Yeah.
And this is Christmas of '88. And so, it's Christmas Eve, it's not going to be open down there in Detroit. Oh, well, then we'll just do something else in Detroit. We'll go down and get some coney dogs or something. So,
go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, right. So we get down there, and we pull up to GM headquarters, and there's all this news media getting out, because he's going to give his annual GM Christmas message. And I thought, oh my God, and so I said, here, just blend in with the rest of the news crews. So we just, it really helps when you look like a roadie, because you're just like carrying equipment and, nobody thinks anything worse of it. So we got in there, and then they're handing out to the press, they're all up on the platform with their cameras in the back, his speech. So I get a copy of it, and I'm going through the speech, and I'm going, oh my God, he's quoting Charles Dickens. I cannot believe this. Okay, so we only had, oh my God, maybe about, I'm going to say we had 3 minutes of film left in the camera, and 16 millimeter rolls about a little over 10 minutes, and I had no other film because I'm making this movie. I'm broke, and there's no video. So so I said to the cameraman, okay, look, I marked off the Dickens. Whatever you do, make sure you get this Dickens part on film, and then try to hold 30 seconds if you can left in the camera, because I'm going to try and get to him. Wow. And so he did that, and then at the end, you see these two guys in the frame, and they're security guys, and they grab my elbows, both of them. They've locked arms with me, so I can't get any closer to him. And I tried to tell you the truth, I actually thought about just lunging at him. Not with a weapon or anything,
right.
Just me. This is all pre-9/11, of course, so you do stuff like just roll him on the ground a little bit, and I got my question off to him if he would come to Flint with me, and he said that he wouldn't. So
wow, amazing.
So finally, I got some screen time with him. So
that's incredible. You wouldn't have a story in these days of video, I guess. Maybe a dying battery, but.
No, but I'm seeing this was what was good about film. It forced you to think things out, and to also, you were an editor in the field, because you had to think, what am I going to need here? I only have so much. Right. It's $400 for 10 minutes to purchase the film from Kodak and then develop it at Duart and the sync sound. So that's $400. That's a lot of money, especially back then. So, but the discipline of it, I think, was really good. As was sitting at the steam deck and having to go through footage, and you're watching the footage as opposed to video, where you where you hit the click that scene, it goes up, and sometimes you'll never go back and look at the other stuff you shot, and sometimes there's just some gems in there. But there's no way you would do it now with video, because first of all, you're shooting 60,000 hours of footage, so you didn't have the time to go back and look. Yeah. But we were just shooting. We were shooting film. We didn't have that much of it, so we were able to, take the time in the edit room and find those gems.
But you didn't. It's like crazy. Did it occur to you, like, while you're making the film, that it's like crazy for you to be doing this, expending? You sold your house. I mean, you didn't know that this was. There's no way to be assured that Warner Brothers was going to pick up the film.
Oh God, no! I never expected that.
Yeah.
No. I think, I don't know. I was probably always a little crazy. I mean, but I also had I wrote a book a couple years ago called Here Comes Trouble, and it's 24 short stories that are nonfiction. They're from my life, from my childhood up through the making of this movie, and there were enough things that had happened in my brief life at that point that sort of led me to believe that I could sort of will things to happen, maybe. Yeah. And also, I wasn't afraid of failure. And I don't know where I learned that, because, well, maybe from the nuns, actually. It's one of the good things from the nuns. It was kind of like, you learn by trial and error. That's how we learned starting as little children. I mean, that's how you learn to ride a bike, tie a shoe, get up and walk. You fall down. How many times you fall down before you can actually walk? And your parents are never angry at you that you can't stand up and walk. They are nurturing. So when we fail from ages 0 to 5, we're loved and nurtured. But after that, we're given Fs.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so I never thought, I embraced failure because I learned something from it every time, and it was a great teacher to me. And that's why I like to go to bad movies, because I will always be something there where I'll make a mental note, don't ever do that.
Right.
You know, it's like, I'm so glad I saw somebody else do that, not me. So I've always had that attitude, that I wasn't afraid of and so I would do then crazy things, like I ran for the Board of Education when I was 18, and started a newspaper when I was 21, and it was all set up to fail. I mean, none of it's gonna, supposed to survive. So, but you know, I tell especially younger filmmakers now, I don't want to tell them not go to school, because you probably should go to school, but because this first film of mine didn't happen until I was 35 years old.
Right.
That's 17 years I was an adult, making maybe 8,000 to 10,000 a year at that time. So I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but for me it was fine.
So